Hello, everybody. My name is Dee, and welcome to Books and Quirks. Today, I'm going to be reviewing two mystery murder type books that I finished recently, and they're both new releases, and they both, in my opinion, were fantastic. I fully enjoyed these two books, but I knew I would going into them because they're kind of right up my alley. So the first one that I want to talk about is Shaken, Not Purred by Kelly Riley. I spoke about this a little bit in my Friday reads a few weeks ago when I was reading it. This is a mystery espionage spy type novel. So, um, this follows a character named Bree. Bree works for a company named Sci-Fi, which I think is hysterical as a name for a company, because they are a cover for espionage services, for espionage activities. And basically, Bree gets assignments to spy on certain by her boss to go undercover and uncover criminal activity by becoming a spy undercover. And this book was so much fun. It was like a James Bond type book, but with a female as the main character. And it had everything. I mean, it was more comedic than James Bond. There was a lot of like comedy and funny moments in this book, but it had action. It had comedy, like I said. It had romance, even as part of it. Um, but the romance was really like a fourth subplot. It was not very prominent in the book. Um, but this is actually part of a series, and I do want to pick up the other books in the series. So Bree is undercover in a chem lab. She is a chemist, so it's comes easy to her to go undercover as a chemist. And she goes undercover as an grad student, um, to assist in the chem lab. And her mission, should she choose to accept it, is to spy on the chemists to see if they're producing illegal drugs. So she goes undercover, somebody drops dead, and then, everything, all hell breaks loose, basically. She has to now not only um, discover whether they're producing illegal drugs, but also whether, who killed this person and why. So it's just crazy. She gets herself into all kinds of danger. And yeah, this book is more on the comedy side, but it also has some serious parts to it. And there are cats that are part of this book too. She has a cat named Sherlock, and she sort of uses her cat as a therapist. She sort of vents to her cat. And I thought that was hysterical because the title is Shaken, Not Purred. So there are cats. There are also a lot of dogs and other animals that she visits with. So they're part of the book as well. And it's just a fun, fun book. And I gave it 5 stars. The other book that I read that I knew I would absolutely love is The Mitford Murders by Jessica Fellowes. Jessica Fellowes is the niece of Julian Fellowes, which you may have heard me talk about if you've watched any of my past week videos. Julian Fellowes is the creator of Downton Abbey, and he's written a book that I read recently, Belgravia, which I loved, and his niece also writes a kind of similar books. And she wrote the Mitford sisters. So the Mitford sisters follows Louisa. Louisa is a very poor working girl in London, and she's terrorized by her monster of an uncle. And one day she manages to escape and run away, and she finds a job as a nurse's maid, which is sort of like a companion and confidant to the children of in a grand estate. So it's kind of like the Grand Estate was very reminiscent of Downton Abbey, which is why I say like it's just all kinds of wonderfulness. Um, Now, prior to going into this book, I did not know that the murder that takes place in this book, as well as the Mitford sisters, are real things that happened. So, at the beginning of the book, the secondary plot, apart from Louisa, is that Florence Shore Nightingale, who is the goddaughter of her namesake, is murdered on the Brighton line. And the two plots sort of mesh together. And Florence Shore Nightingale, that was a real event that happened. She was murdered on the Brighton line. This takes place in the 1920s, and I think it was 1919 when the book first started. And yeah, so it was amazing to follow this book, and it was, oh, my cat. And it was a blend of fact and fiction. So the grand estate that Louisa gets a job in is the home of the Mitford sisters. The Mitford sisters were also a real family. Apparently, they were involved in a lot of scandal in the 1920s and a lot of intrigue. People were very interested in them. They were always showing up in the papers. And the eldest daughter, Nancy, in the book at least, this is the fiction part, was very close to Louisa. The two became very close. Louisa wasn't much older than Nancy. Nancy at the beginning of the book, I think, was 15. Louisa, I think, was maybe in her early 20s, so there wasn't a huge gap. And Louisa became very caring over Nancy and became a big confidant to Nancy. And yeah, and then, I mean, it was just so there were a couple of plots going on. They're trying to solve this murder. Louisa and Nancy get involved. Um, and, all sort of hijinks happen. And then you also have the plot story of the uncle and whether he'll find her or not. So I just fully enjoyed this book. I thought the writing was so easy, so accessible. It was definitely a page turner. I couldn't stop reading. I think I read it in 2 days. I read, half and half. And it was the same with Shaken Not Purred. I just couldn't get enough of these books. And also, I really couldn't find fault with them. The character development I thought was also excellent, and I'm just fascinated. And now that I know the Mitford sisters are real, I just want to learn more about them. So there you have it. Those are my quick thoughts on two murder mystery books that I recently read and fully enjoyed. I also gave the Mitford sisters 5 stars. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope this gives you an idea of whether it might be something that you would like. I definitely have become more of a fan of murder mystery type novels in the past few months. And yeah, it's something that I didn't read a whole lot of before, but now I'm picking up more and more. So yes, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all very soon. Bye.